Please welcome Zen Fang to the stage.
Everybody, welcome to day 2 of RDC. Hope everyone here is having a great time. I know I am. First, I want to give everyone a little introduction of myself. I'm Zen Fang, and I lead international here at ROBLOX. I've been here for about 2 years leading international growth. And prior to being here, I spent about 13 years at Facebook working on various roles around international expansion and platform growth as well. So I'm super excited to be here today. Today we're going to be talking about building for international markets. In this session, it's going to be divided into 2 different segments. In the first segment, I'm going to cover a little bit more about where our international growth lies today and where our future opportunity lies on the platform, as well as how you as developers can start taking advantage of that market. In the second half of the presentation, we're going to invite up a couple of our developers up on stage with us where they can share with you on how they've incorporated some of these learnings and expanded their experiences globally. So I'm really excited here to be talking to you about this topic, and hopefully you all can walk away with this with some ideas of what to build next, how to expand for international markets, and how to take advantage of this growth that we're seeing on ROBLOX platform. So first, let's take a look at where our global growth is coming from right now. As you can see, this is an extension of maybe something you saw yesterday on our keynote, where you'll see that our global growth is going really well throughout the world, even outside of our core markets of US and Canada. Actually, the growth right now, our daily active users on ROBLOX right now, over 80% of that is coming from outside of US and Canada. And we're seeing tremendous growth across Asia, Latin America, and Europe as well. And this means ROBLOX is already an international platform today and will be even more so in the years to come. Now let's take a look at where the growth is going to be coming from. This is a look into the future where you'll see that international markets is going to play an even larger role in driving the growth of ROBLOX. You can see the importance of markets like Southeast Asia, Japan, India, and Latin America. And together they represent opportunities for not just user growth, but revenue upside for you and your experiences as well. And efforts across ROBLOX are happening right now to accelerate and capture this growth, ensuring that you, our developers, have access to these markets. So as ROBLOX further grows and expands in these markets, so will your addressable market. This session is meant to help you understand what we can do to take advantage of this rapid growth and, and see how you can take that into growth of your experiences as well. Oh, one thing I forgot to note on that slide is those are just, it's not a projection, it's just an illustration of where our growth will be maybe coming from in the years to come. So moving on to our next section, where I'll cover a couple of content genres that we think are really interesting for our international users. You may have seen content genres being mentioned in our keynotes yesterday of how we're thinking about content genres and the opportunities on ROBLOX. And in this session here, I will go into 4 different content genres that we think are in particular interest for international markets. So now let's take a look at the first content genre I want to highlight, which is open world action. Now, what is open world action? These are games that allow users to explore immersive worlds, complete missions, and engage in quests or challenges. In Q2 of this year, users searched for open world games over 14 million times, with India showing particular high interest. Users are eager for this type of content, but often struggle to find the exact ROBLOX game to play. So this could be an interesting genre for you to explore as you think about your international and global expansion plans. Next genre I want to highlight is sports. As we all know, a lot of us play sports, we watch sports, we enjoy sports in many different levels. And this category offers a very wide, diverse experience set due to the wide range of popular sports available and also the gameplay styles. As you can see, there's some realistic simulation games in sports to arcade-like simplified games. Sports, especially localized sports, perform really well on Roblox. In international markets such as Japan, Brazil, and South Korea, to name a few. In Brazil, soccer is very popular, better known as football. I think it's known as football in the rest of the world. So users search for terms like football or FIFA a lot on Roblox. And games like Super League Soccer and events like Copa Roblox are just a couple to highlight that have already taken advantage of this interest on Roblox and growth. And what's interesting there is that they're taking advantage of this by incorporating local teams, local events, and the desire for the community there to compete to further ignite their growth of their games on Roblox. This is really interesting because what we want to see is that if you can take a little bit of some of these genres, put some local flavor on it, and with some marketing, with events, it could go really, really big and viral on and off Roblox platform. A couple other countries to highlight here are Japan and Korea that have also a lot of interest in this category. The third genre I want to highlight is driving and racing games. Globally, we saw over 15.5 million searches related to this in the last quarter alone. And especially this category is really interesting for people that are into racing, stunts, or driving trick enthusiasts. Indonesia is a country that some of you may be familiar with already and know that it is a really large and fast-growing market for Roblox in the Southeast Asian market. And we're seeing a particularly high demand for motor racing games in Indonesia. Brazil and South Korea are two other countries where this category of gaming is also being seen. We're seeing unmet user demand. The final category I wanted to highlight here is social co-opetition. This is a set of games where typically feature you working with other players to solve or create something. It may encourage users to vote on a creation like Salon Makeover, or partner on a game show or problem solve a task like Outlaster. What's fascinating is that this genre is already growing very rapidly today on Roblox, as you've seen by the experiences like Dress to Impress over the summer months. But our data internally show that users want more of things in this category. We see an unmet user demand waiting to be filled around search terms like board games, fashion, creation, etc., and bingo even. So here, I've highlighted the 4 different genres that we're seeing unmet international demand. And now I'd like to dive a little deeper on a couple of key markets that is important for Roblox and I think could be really important for you as you think about creation of your games going forward. The first country I want to highlight is Japan. Japan is the world's 3rd largest gaming market, and we're growing very well there, as you can see by these metrics here. It has a population of over 120 million people, but it's the world's 3rd largest gaming market. Do you all know what's the 1st and 2nd largest gaming market in the world? Anyone? And then what else? 2nd? Oh, great, you guys are on top of it. What about the 4th? Okay, well, we can talk about the 4th. 4th is South Korea. Yeah. Japan, other things to note about Japan is that it's predominantly an iOS market. What does that mean? iOS users, what we see on our platform, tend to monetize slightly better than Android users. So you can think of Japanese users as a market that you can generally see a higher ARPU from. Another thing to note about Japan is that it tends to be a bit more insular, with local preferences shaping its top games and top charts tremendously compared to other regions. If you take a look at the top iOS or Android charts in Japan, you will see that you probably don't recognize many of those games or apps. It is actually different from any other country, including the US. And that tells you that there's a strong preference for local content and local culture in the Japanese market. So as you think about creation for and optimizing for the Japanese market, you can think, for example, in the vehicle and driving section that I mentioned earlier, in Japan, what we've seen is that there's a lot of users really interested in train and train simulation. You may think about creating an experience that's centered around that for the Japanese market. And for my son too, he's really into that as well, and he's not Japanese, so it's popular around the world. And because English is not as prevalent in Japan, well-localized content is even more important for the Japanese audience. So to succeed, we're seeing a lot of, there's many ways to succeed in Japan, but we're seeing an opportunity for arcade sports games in Japan, like volleyball and soccer, which is currently not yet met on our platform. And with the launch of PlayStation last year, it is primed for growth at its home turf, offering a great opportunity for developers like you to take advantage of a more aged-up cohort of users. Did it go? All right, here we go. Now, zooming into Latin America, Brazil is another key growth market for Roblox. It ranks in the world's top 10 globally for gaming, and I'm not sure if you all know this, but it's Roblox's second largest market in terms of DAUs worldwide. But unlike Japan, it is an Android-dominated market, much like the rest of the world. The rest of the world is all Android-dominated. So developers, when you're thinking about expansion of your experiences outside of US and primarily English-speaking markets, Android becomes even more of an important platform for you to consider. So you need to consider lower-end, lower-performance devices. But despite this, Brazil actually monetizes quite well on Roblox, with catalog spending over 10% over our global average, driven by both male and female users, which shows that it's a pretty healthy ecosystem. And like Japan, Brazil also shows a high demand for local games. So now I'd like to take a moment and summarize a couple of the key pillars that Roblox, the platform, offers you developers to help you take advantage of this international expansion. You know, the first pillar, optimizing monetization globally, is something near and dear to my heart. I want to share, I think some of you may have already heard in some of the other keynotes today that in-experience price optimization is coming. This is really exciting. It offers you the opportunity to test different price points for your virtual item without sacrificing user retention or engagement metrics, because there's going to be guardrails put in place for that. And in the future, regional pricing, oh, this is going to be so good when it launches, will let you set different price points for different markets. Some of you may have heard of this term called Big Mac Index. You know, it shows that a Big Mac in Tokyo, Japan, does not cost the same amount as it does in New Delhi, India, which is very true, right? But yet again, it shows that there's an optimal price point for each item in different regions of the world. So I think with regional pricing, you're going to find that certain markets that currently do not monetize well for your experience right now, you may be surprised on how well it may do when this feature launches and you're able to optimize for that market. The next pillar I want to highlight is automatic translations. I'm sure many of you in this room, if not all of you, are already very familiar with this, so I won't go into very much detail here. But one cool thing that's launching here is text chat service, which is an API that allows you in real time to dynamically load text for automatic translation. This is very helpful for things that are like loaded and that's not easily scraped by our current services. And the third pillar I want to highlight for those of you in this room that where English may not be your primary language is localized creator tooling and support. We've already launched studio support recently in German and in Vietnamese, and we're looking forward to supporting this in Thai, Indonesian, Polish, and Turkish soon. And creator documentation is coming to your localized languages in 10 different languages later this year. Now I want to summarize everything for the first section of our session here today. What can you do to grow your international user base? First, I think it's really important to understand your users, where your users are coming from right now, what are their languages, their geographies, and their device types. And you probably won't be surprised that a lot of your users are coming from Android devices. So you may want to keep an Android device handy to ensure that your experience and your updates run smoothly on that device. And take advantage of the pricing test that's going to be offered for you in the coming months to optimize for your monetization globally. This will allow you to understand the price elasticity of your virtual items, and it's going to be key to maximizing your bookings as the platform expands more and more globally. And don't forget to partner with brands. Think about partnering with brands, influencers, IPs that may resonate with a target region. If you're seeing traction for your experience in a particular region, there are many brands and other IPs out there that may want to partner with you to help you further grow your experience there. And finally, and I think this is one of the most important things, which is really think about how to insert local flavor, local culture into your experiences to make it feel more native for your users worldwide. This could be in the form of art, music, any regional zeitgeist, offline events to really make it feel like this is my experience, this is my app, it's made for me. So with that, concludes the first portion of our session. I'm super excited to transition to the second half of the session where we're going to hear from creators who've successfully expanded their experiences worldwide. It is my pleasure to welcome to stage Junie from Clipit and Eric from Carta. Eric. Thanks, Junie. Great. Awesome. I'm going to make sure everything is placed right. Okay. Super excited to have you both here join us on stage today. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Junie. So first, before we get started, I would love to hear a little bit about both of you. So maybe, Eric, do you want to go first? Introduce yourself.
I can go first, absolutely. Yeah, awesome to be here. My name is Eric Laundry. I'm the CEO and founder of Carta. We help brands, popular artists, and football clubs, etc., connect with the Roblox audience by building brand and fan experiences, doing integrations into popular games, and releasing UGC items, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Eric. Junie.
I'm Juniper. I work on Clipit as the technical lead. We do a lot of cool stuff internationally, and
Yeah, I think a lot of you may be familiar with the experiences that both of you have the honor of you guys having on our platform. So welcome, welcome. Our next question is, for experiences that you're working on or have worked on in the past, what percentage of your users came from markets outside the US? And are there any standout countries that come to mind? How did it come about? Was it serendipitous? Did you go after those markets? We'd love to hear a little bit more about your international expansion or international growth stories.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Cool. No, I mean, we work a lot with like K-pop artists, like Twice and Blackpink. And obviously, K-pop is massively a global phenomenon, but of course, it has a big audience across Asia. But yeah, standout countries with those experiences, I would say, are like Indonesia, Philippines, but also Mexico and Brazil have big percentages. And yeah, we are one of our sort of big brand. I'm repping here today. I realized that Hugo, which is one of the brands under Hugo Boss, is one of our big clients that we work on. And for them, the focus is very much sort of US, but also Germany and UK. And I'm super happy that we managed to actually have a very sort of Germany and UK audience, which can be when you work with brands, it's actually sometimes a bit of a challenge to deal with the global nature of this incredible platform, because we actually don't want to reach everyone. We want to reach targeted audiences.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that's probably unique to like branded partnerships in some ways, where the marketing dollars may want to focus on a particular region and they don't care as much about certain other regions that they're not.
Yeah, marketing budgets are still like local to a particular market, even if it's a global brand that you think sort of wants to reach everyone. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but we're figuring out ways to deal with it.
Cool. Junie, anything you want to say about Clipit or other experiences for games that you've worked on?
Yeah, so we have a relatively large presence in European countries. French, our largest creator, is German. They have about 500,000 followers in Clipit, which is like on Roblox. It's crazy. Yeah, there's
great.
There's presence in Japan. I think we've seen some Korean clips. It's really cool to see that, and it's also cool because the way we serve clips is we take the locale of the user and we serve them clips based on their locale, and sometimes that also ends up serving across different locales. So if a clip is funny enough or fashionable enough, then they end up surfacing to other languages, which is cool.
Oh, interesting. Do you notice anything like crossover that's surprising?
Mainly the funny ones. I see the funny ones crossing over.
So funny is universal.
Yeah, humor's universal. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Great to hear. Next question for both of you. What product features or implementations have you guys implemented in your various experiences to better engage with your international users? Was there tools that Roblox provided, like automatic translation, or features you've implemented yourself to better serve your international users?
Yes. So we've actually used automatic translations a lot. Some of the top clips are automatically translated to every language, which has helped engagement with our game a lot. We're excited about the new stuff that Roblox announced at RDC with the omnidirectional text-to-speech, speech-to-text, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, the locale ID in our recommendation algorithm to just surface content to users based on their language so that it's easier to access for them.
Makes sense.
Cool. No, I mean, obviously translation and language is such a, a no-brainer that you have to do. But for us, when we do brand experiences, it's quite a lot, especially when our clients want to target a certain audience. It's like super important that we, make sure that we hit the right references and that we both with the brand, but also with the sort of, because what looks really cool in a sort of American context might not look as cool in another culture's context, and etc. So yeah, really trying to get that right.
Is there any kind of fun anecdotes that you found on like what you thought could work in a country and didn't?
No, but it's like, I guess it's like cultural references, like, should this sort of beach walk look like Venice Beach, or should it, is that cool, or does it match with the audience, or do we need to? And yeah, I mean, we did one game for Ronald McDonald House, the charity of McDonald's, which was super cool because it was only actually accessible to the kids that stay at those houses. And then it was a Swedish campaign, so it's like very focused on getting, and I'm Swedish, so like getting those references right. It was
that's cool.
The map sort of was very sort of native to Swedish landscape and stuff like that. It's fun.
I think that's one thing that we hear from our users far and wide, is that when developers put in these little elements that really resonate, whether it's a festival or an event or just little things that you can tell that they really took the extra care versus just, I think of text translation as sort of table stakes. You got to get it right.
Yep.
And then there's all this other stuff, right? On top of it to really make it feel native to the user. Yeah, that's great. Thank you both for sharing. This question is, I think, maybe more geared towards Eric for you, if you don't mind. You've built a successful studio that is actually global, based in multiple markets. And I think many folks in this audience may be in that position here or about to embark on that position of having a studio or coworkers or whatnot across multiple time zones and multiple geographies. What advice do you have for other people that may be embarking or currently in this position of working across time zones and across geographies and expanding internationally?
Yeah, I mean, diversity, I think, is a massive strength in any team or in any company. Really, it's good to have diverse perspectives and so embrace it. I think embrace we can work globally now, even though we might end up on some calls on weird time zones sometimes. I think maybe all of us has done that. But yeah, I think then I guess it's about understanding different cultural references and not take for granted that the same thing, how you act in a professional setting might differ a little bit from country to country. I sort of had developers in Southeast Asia, they said like, with this whole cold talk, like that we just chat, you know, the British office culture is very chat, you know, like there's a lot of like, you should be chatting a lot, and they're like, well, we're here to work, and I'm like, but it's good that we communicate and we hang out socially, because we actually, then we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be easier to do great work together because we feel close, more connected. And yeah, that's just
it's different.
Yeah, it can be different, and I think we all have things to learn from each other, right?
Yep, totally, for sure. There's definitely times when I've experienced working with colleagues in this current role and in previous lives where it's like, oh wow, this is, you know, the American way is not always, we get so, you know, in our American bubble sometimes on how we do.
On that note, I wanted to say that like, that was one of my experiences, because, you know, what is so fascinating about this platform is how global it is.
Yep.
And then the first RDC I went to, like this is 2 years ago, I was like, this feels like it's just very US focused and the whole, and it felt like it was less of an international crowd, so it's awesome to see.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's awesome to be on this panel with you guys, but also cool to see the 70 countries represented.
Completely agree. I feel like, given how diverse and global our platform is, I'm super excited. This is my second RDC, because I joined right after the RDC the year prior. And I have to say, the number of developers I've met, I've had the opportunity to meet here from international markets, is just more than doubled or tripled than last year. So it's really exciting to see that that RDC is resonating more and more with our global audience.
It's awesome.
And global developers, yeah. Super great. All right. So this is our last, you know, formal question, and then I think we're going to have time for folks to kind of come up and ask questions. So this is a question for both of you. Maybe Junie can start first. Is how much attention do you pay to performance on Android devices, and how do you think about Android devices, especially lower end devices? Is it something that guides your content decisions that you make? Curious on how you guys think about it, since Clipit is so global and is popular globally.
Yeah, so Android is at the center of our focus with like every performance consideration that we have. Our team actually has a budget for low-end Android and iPhones, just so that we make sure that even if we think on paper it's working, that it actually does work. Since a lot of our audience is from other countries and Android is prominent in other countries, we want to make sure that we give them the best performance possible. There's a lot of optimization, I guess, hacks that we do to make sure that stuff loads and works well on Android. Like we hide models, but like don't reparent them, and just a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, Android's always at the center of our focus when pushing an update.
That's great. That's great to hear. It's exactly what we want to do internally as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a little bit like sometimes you have to, for us, when we work with a client, it's important to understand what they value. So when we work with a music artist, it's usually as many people as possible, right? Whereas sometimes a brand might actually sort of think it's more important that it looks really, really, really high end. That might make it less of a great experience for people on lower end devices. But yeah, obviously that's always it, right? You need to understand what your priorities are, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I really do think, and I wonder, as devices, just even lower end Android devices, I feel like they've come a long way in the last couple of years. And I think in a couple more years, it's going to perform even better, right? And
I am an Android user. I don't know, is anyone ever? No.
Who here has a default device that's Android?
Yes.
Are you from other country? I'm just kidding. Yes. Yes. It is great. It's come a long way, and I think it'll go even further. And
I feel a little bit insulted. I'm a Samsung guy. I'm like, this
iPhone is so prominent here.
Yeah. It's so we're in San Francisco as well.
Yeah. Like right.
Or less icons, West Coast California. Yeah. But in Europe it's
ubiquitous. Yeah.
Android is, I think, more phones. So,
definitely. I think I can think of maybe just probably a handful of countries around the world where it's iPhone dominated. Versus Android's really rest of the world. Yep. It's just not here. Yeah. Great. Thank you both. I don't know if we have 5 minutes left from our session. Love to, if folks have questions, feel free to line up on the mics, and we'll try to do as good of a job as we can answering it live. Cool.
So, speaking of internationalization, Marco Vigilini from Italy. We have a studio based in Italy. A question for Eric. What technical strategies have you implemented to limit access to Swedish students only? Thank you.
Was that for the Ronald McDonald example?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that one, it was not even just limited to Swedish people, it was limited to people who were actually staying on
Ronald McDonald.
In the Ronald McDonald house.
We have built something like that for
cool.
any. Yeah.
So we did a very simple solution. It was a 4-digit code that you needed to have to access. So there was no like high-end technical solution.
So you get a code.
Yeah, that's the first thing that happens. Like put in your code. You don't have the code, you get access to the game. So not very, and yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I know this, and maybe you know more about that. You can limit. You can give access to specific regions, right, with content that others can't see or can see.
Great.
So many.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks a lot for your input. So yeah, we are in a particular situation. We're working for brands, and we have a brand that is a TV broadcaster, a regional TV broadcaster, who is only interested in traffic from their own region, very, very specific. It's actually the Quebec region in Canada, so it's French-speaking and it's in Canada. What would be your advice to only reach in your marketing, only reach that specific clientele?
That's like super hard. Like it's something that I've come up against. I've actually been in an early stage of a pitch where it was French Canada, which is obviously, it's really challenging when you have languages like, French, Spanish, and because a lot of your content creators, if you're a famous YouTuber from Quebec, you might have a lot of fans in France, mainland, right, as well. So do I have a perfect solution for you to like do this? I don't. Yeah, I think it's about finding those content creators that have a very specific audience to partner with them to market. But then I guess it's also like, I don't know if you can. I guess we can't target more than down to country. We can't target only French-speaking Canada, I think, with advertising right now.
Yeah.
And something else just to note is Roblox is really cool because it just lets you get everyone at once all around the world. So I guess there's some area for improvement there as well with the advertising stuff.
For advertisers. And I wonder, for the brands that you work with, do they care if you also get French people from France? Maybe it's like they target that, but let's say because the pie is just so much bigger, instead of worrying about only going after this segment, maybe you go after everybody, but then the slice you're going after is there anyway?
I have had advertisers and clients that sort of sees it as like paying, like throwing money in but it is like dead spend, So it is sometimes a challenge, but then I've also had other clients that are like, oh yeah, we're focused on these regions and these countries, but it's okay that there's people from other.
Yeah, exactly, because then it generates more word of mouth, because it's not like these social graphs are closed to that region anyway. The more you get with other French speakers, the more they talk about it on their social channels, and it just kind of kicks off that flywheel that's going to influence the Quebec French speakers anyway. I don't know.
And then make it a very localized and very targeted experience, I think, in content-wise, right? That's like...
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. This side.
Hi, my name is Carlos. I work at PlayStation, and I wanted to ask, since the game has come on to PlayStation, we're obviously a very global brand. We're in 75 different countries. Have you seen any changes, or do you have any insights in how maybe the geographical makeup of your audience, or how that's shifted after the game has come on to PlayStation?
This is you.
So, PlayStation is a very recent thing on Roblox, as you know. Clipit is still working on console support, so yeah. Very, very interesting.
I think let's have a conversation afterwards on that, because I don't think I have off the cuff an answer to it.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry
on the
about that.
platform side, we're definitely seeing our console users tend to be more retentive and tend to monetize a little better, and they tend to be older. So I think if you optimize your experiences for console and desktop, you're going to get a slightly different cohort of users that it's going to complement your mobile players, I think.
Thank you.
Thanks. Maybe one more. I don't know if this time is totally right. If it is, then we have one more.
Okay, I'm Yuki from Geek Out. I come from Japan, and my company deals with everything about Japan. So if anybody's interested in anything about Japan, like, talk to us. But anyway, done advertising. And my question is, so it is very important to focus on like particular regions, time to time, depending on the brand or the purpose of the experience. I agree. And coming from Japan, which is a kind of unique market, our output tends to be pretty unique. But at the same time, we want to go global as well. In terms of that, what are the values or the elements that you focus to have to keep the universality of the experience while you're focusing on particular regions?
I think the universality. I think the key thing in all of this, and especially when you work with like sort of the IPs you have and stuff like this, I think the key thing is that it's authentic to who you are and what the IP is. Because I think that the sort of fans of your IPs are like they're gonna like that. I don't think we should pander if that's too much.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to add there. Sorry.
I guess I can try and add. So we're in Clipit. Whenever we do an activation with a brand, we're showing them at the top of the asset toolbox. So usually that's like music artists, scenes, so custom scenes they can record in. And then we just show it to like everyone. And I guess since we already have like such a global audience, it kind of helps with the universality. I don't know if that answers your question or if you're looking for something more specific.
Well, yeah, like one of the things that you mentioned is like Clip is like uses a sense of humor to connect with the audience, and that's pretty universal, I thought. So thank you for answering.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our session. Hopefully.
Okay, quick selfie.
Oh, yeah.
ROBLOX RDC 2024. This is a worldwide creative audience. Welcome, everyone. Your amazing content supports connection and ultimately lets us play.
AI is already everywhere at ROBLOX. You can automate tasks to create your experiences. This is about bringing your vision to life faster.
We believe 10% of all gaming content worldwide will flow through the ROBLOX ecosystem.
We have automatic dynamic occlusion culling. Your users will just press play and it will be faster.
We're expanding our offering and are thrilled to bring Shopify on board next. The opportunity for brands and ROBLOX creators to work together has never been greater.
ROBLOX Party. It's a way that people can come together, coordinate, join servers together every single time.
We're thrilled to bring back music and to unlock even more ways for creators and now artists to get discovered on ROBLOX, pushing ROBLOX to the forefront of culture across every genre.
Our community has grown well beyond our platform. I really want to thank our influencer community for the fun, entertaining work they do every day.
We want to make sure that we're all working together.
And we hope you're seeing that in the product. I really have never been more excited about the future of ROBLOX. We can't wait to see what you're going to build this year. Thank you all.
Please welcome Steph Corazza to the stage.
All right, everybody. Your day is starting already with a victory. You made it to the first talk of the day despite a fantastic party last night at the Sawhorse Forks. So congratulations to you. Today I'm going to be joined here on stage by Sujoy, Lynn, and Eric to talk about how we can leverage collaboration and AI to help you ship faster and more games. So we heard yesterday from Jandel how important it was for him to be able to try a bunch of different games and pump out as much content as possible to try new ideas until some of them will stick. And so there are basically two ways to do that. As my grandma said, if you want to be more productive, you either have to be more productive yourself, or you have to work with more people. And so today we're going to guide you through what we provide you in terms of workflows for both AI and productivity, as well as collaboration. And I want to start thanking you for all the amazing feedback that we gathered from you in this journey to make Studio a better tool and to provide AI workflows to you and better collaboration. Your feedback is invaluable. We read every single line that you write on the dev forum. Sometimes it's painful. Let me acknowledge that, but it's good because it's just giving us more motivation. So we love that, and please keep the feedback going. It's been like a pretty long journey, I would say, relatively speaking. We started our journey on AI and generative AI in Studio about a year and a half ago. It was March of last year when we released Code Assist and Material Generator in beta. Both of them are now available out of beta. Material Generator came out of beta last week. And then we have added more capabilities around being able to browse documentation more efficiently through AI, assistant actions, also AI used for texturing and for creating avatar. It's a long journey, and we could not be in this journey successfully without the data that you have trusted us to share. And so we want to also thank you for that. The data that you have shared with us allow us to train open source models, deploy them in our infrastructure at a fraction of the cost of what it will take to run those models in third-party clouds. And because of that, we were able to make them free to you in Studio. So we are one of the very few companies out there offering a lot of Gen AI workflows for free to the community. I think it's an amazing synergy that we can leverage the data to train open source model and give them to you for free. And so we also got a lot of feedback about what you wanted for Gen AI in Studio. And one very strong piece of feedback was, hey, let's focus on things that we don't want to do, right? So we want to let you focus on creativity, and we want to be basically your dishwasher. So the most cheered release that we have ever done of an AI feature was Assistant Actions a month ago that had like the highest sentiment we've ever seen for anything AI. Usually there's like a fair amount of like controversy on those. But there was a strong signal that you gave us. Like Assistant Actions is helping you do bulk manipulations of the data model. Things like like we are seeing in the video, create a forest, randomize the size of those trees, change the color, randomize the color. All these like bulk operations take a lot of time. Usually they're very tedious. There's not a lot of creativity in it. And so we automate all those through a system with Assistant Actions. You have given us great feedback. And so we want to pursue that route of being your dishwasher, your washing machine, taking care of the tedious stuff day to day that you don't want to do. And ultimately, the goal is to accelerate your iteration cycle. As we have learned yesterday, and we have seen in every talk, iteration is at the core of building a fantastic experience, a fantastic game. And so we want to really help you make the iteration faster. And we have seen the results already, not just in terms of how much content you're creating with AI, 60% more material variants, 180% more code using Code Assist or Assistant, but also 30% more publishing. And so ultimately, the more you publish, the more you can test, the more good ideas you can find, and the more of those like goldmine games and key game loops you can identify and be successful. And so that is our goal, and that's what we want. And so in the future, looking forward, what we want to add is more control. Gen AI sometimes feels a little bit like a slot machine. You push the button, you pull the lever, you get something, May be good, may not be good. You do it again, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. Oh, this one is kind of okay. I would love to change this thing. Well, I can't. You do it again. You do it again, right? It feels a little bit that way. And so we want to move away from the slot machine and actually giving you direct control. And so you can select maybe areas of an image that you want to change, but keep everything else. Or you want to provide a multimodal input, not just text, but also, for example, images, like we see in this case for this beautiful medieval door. And sometimes images speak more than like 1,000 words. And so in the future direction, we want to provide not only more fine control on the output, but also multimodal input so that we can better capture your intent and really produce exactly what you're looking for. And so now we're going to get a little bit deeper into our AI workflows, and I want to invite Sujoy and Lynn to the stage. Let's give them a round of applause.
All right, this thing just fell out of my pocket. All right, hi everyone, I'm Sujoy. Super excited to be here today. I actually got a really fun job. Lynn and I have actually been working on a little demo experience that we built using AI. So who's ready to have their minds blown? I'm just kidding, lower your expectations. We're not game developers, but okay, let's take a look. All right, so that was pretty short, pretty simple. Probably could have used some sound effects, so that would probably be the next thing we work on. Probably not winning any innovation awards tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about how we built this. But before we did that, I want to say that everything you're going to see in the next few minutes is actually live in production. So you can go to the beta features, turn on Assistant, everything you see, you can go try with your own places. All right? So how do we do this? We started with a set of assets. So you may have seen these assets before. These come from our art team. They were used previously in the Duval Drive and the Beyond the Darkness showcases. With these assets, we started building out our environment. So first thing we did was I asked Assistant to take a set of trees and build a forest, certain size, certain location, and it spit 77 trees out within a matter of like 20 seconds. So now we have a forest to work with, but I wanted to add some alien spice to this forest. So I asked it specifically to add this alien veins asset on all of our beechwood trees. Assistant is really good at actually doing this kind of relative placement with objects that are already in your scene. It can also do random placement like you saw with the forest, but it can also do algorithmic placement like placing a bunch of objects in a line or a pattern or a circle, things that you don't want to have to like measure out yourself and do, right? And then finally, for the environment, we wanted to edit the properties of the environment. So we wanted to change the time, we added some fog, we edited some of the lighting. Now that we had an environment to work with, we wanted to use Assistant to actually work on our alien. So this alien came with this floating animation out of the box, but that was pretty much it. And so we wanted to build out some of the game mechanics. Assistant helped us create a script to make the alien chase the player and track the player whenever they came within a certain distance. It also added a script to make the eyes light up red so that the player knew that the alien had been alerted. And I'm sure you're going to read this entire prompt, right? Get your binoculars out. Assistant created this fiery laser that you see that starts blasting the player if they get even closer. Now, I show you this prompt specifically because Assistant can actually handle quite a bit of detail in your prompts. Think of it like writing pseudocode, where you're actually giving Assistant detailed instructions on exactly what you want it to do, and then Assistant is finishing the job and basically filling in the gap, right? So it might end up writing 100 lines of code from your 10 lines of prompt. Similarly, we used Assistant to build the power-ups. So what you saw in the game was the speed power-up. We also had this fire power-up that we didn't actually show in the original video. So we used the texture generator to build multiple variants of this stone pillar. So it created this lightning bolt and this fire. And then we used Assistant to create an attribute called the power-up and added a script so that when the player touches one of these stones, that attribute gets updated to the power-up that's now been enabled. Finally, we also had an assistant add a script to actually change the gameplay mechanics based on which attribute was selected. So if you touch the lightning bolt, you get to run 3 times as fast. And if you touch the fire, you get fire hands and you get to shoot fireballs. At this point, Assistant is getting pretty good at doing general scripting. So you can use it to try to help you with any scripting job that you have. We also, we didn't go into the details of this, but we used Assistant to build the UI at the beginning, the little pop-ups at the beginning and the end of the game, as well as the teleport mechanic that rescues the player at the end. Now I'm going to hand it over to Lynn.
Hey, thank you, Joy. This is really fun and inspiring. However, in our creation workflow, sometimes outside of this fun part, there's always a lot of tedious and mundane work. I believe you know that, such as bulk editing or change the names of hundreds of objects, or just some small little design tweaks, right? As an experienced developer, you know how time-consuming and sometimes frustrating it is. Now, I'm so excited to tell you Assistant can do it for you. As you can see here, it can bulk select hundreds of dozens of trees all at once that meet a certain criteria. Sometimes it can even be very hard, right? So all of this on the rock, or hey, shorter or taller than the one you pre-selected. So you don't need to select them one by one and take a look of the property window. Just using this prompt, boom, problem solved. Also, you can do that, such as on the right side, it can compare the packages. Even though they look very visually similar, it can compare, tell you, hey, what's the difference in the scripts or what has been changed between different versions. Also, there's more tasks it can do for you as well. You may not know it yet, but Assistant can already handle it for you. Do you know that it can select all the objects and put it into a folder, give it a proper name automatically? Do you know that it can also change all the objects and the name, reorganize it in your data model, even just based on the content, what's inside? I don't know about you, I'm super excited about it. I think it's already a huge booster for my productivity. It's not only because it saved my time, but more about a sense of relief that frees me up from this boring, tedious work, so I can stay in the flow and focus on the creative work I like. So here are all the tasks Joy and I did to build this demo. Assistant actually did 100% of all the scripts in that demo, and most of the environment building and mundane tasks. Now we're ready to share it to our art team to polish it a little bit more, or we can play test with our developers to say, hey, if this is a good game or not. AI is still very early, but useful already. As we demonstrated, you can see the 3 key values it can do. It can help you do rapid prototyping, can help you automate mundane tasks as we demoed. Also, we haven't mentioned much, it can also help you learn new skills. We envision a future that scripters can do design and designers can do scripts with the help of AI. Right? It can actually Assistant today, it can explain the scripts it generated. It can also help you find the documents or explain how to do it step by step. As Steph mentioned earlier, we envision a future Assistant and AI will help you do all the dishes and the laundries so that you can focus on the creative work. We're so happy to be here and to hear from you. Please visit our booth at the AI and the studio. Tell us what you need. Tell us more about your specific workflow, and we're more than happy to hear from you and polish our Assistant and other AI products. Now let's welcome Eric to the stage to talk about collaboration.
All right, thank you, Lynn and Sujoy, and good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Eric Yip, the engineering lead for Creator Collaboration, and I'm excited to be here to share with you all our plans for how we're going to make collaboration workflows more powerful. Hey, so first off, why even collaboration, right? Well, we believe this is one of the pillars to Creator success because 3 things are happening on Roblox today. First, your experiences, they're getting larger and more sophisticated, and you need workflows at scale. And your teams, they're growing and becoming more dispersed. And third, creators like you and me are craving better support for third-party tools. Am I right? All right. All right. And with over 70% of hours engaged on Roblox coming from creators who collaborate, we believe that one of the keys to scaling your creation is with collaboration. All right, sophisticated teams need the best tools and environments to iterate together. For instance, your team may want to visualize and collaborate. That's why we recently added activity history and soon annotations directly into Studio for you. So like this example, an update to the tree package will be shown in the feed for all to see, and your teammates can use annotations to describe creative intent directly in Studio without using clumsy screenshots. External tools are an important part of a vibrant ecosystem. And starting with coding, we're working towards a great experience for third party. Soon, you can use Studio File Sync to bi-directionally sync your scripts in and out of Studio without the need for another tool. So like this example, you can select some scripts you want to sync, open your favorite editor like VS Code, and voila, everything will be bi-directional when you hit save. Our vision is that anything you can do in Roblox Engine should be available to external tools via OpenCloud. And we're really excited to start by unlocking automation testing this way. So let's say you have a spaceship that you want to test in your CI/CD pipeline. Well, soon you can write your test cases in Luau, hook them up to GitHub Actions for them to run automatically. And we're not done. We're also going to be unlocking the capability for you to deploy that spaceship package directly to the Creator Store this way. And the best part, all of this can be done directly through the Roblox Cloud without Studio unless you choose to. And what better way to show this off than with a demo? So I'm going to be showing you how we can call a module script directly from the web. All right, on the left side here, I have Studio open with the module script just to show you the content. It doesn't have to be open, like I said. On the right-hand side, we're writing some Luau to actually call the module script. When we hit submit, we're actually sending this piece of Luau code directly to Engine in the Roblox Cloud for processing. And give it a few seconds. All right, and you get the results. So I'm really excited to share this with you, and I can't wait to see all the creative things you can do with this. This exact demo setup, along with file sync and annotation, are in our Studio booth today. So come by, check it out, give us your feedback, whether you love it or hate it. And then thank you very much. Next up, I want to invite Steph back on stage, and we want to invite Guy from Toyo Studio to join us for a fireside chat.
Thank you, Eric, so much. Right, so Guy the Bear will join us today for our fireside chat. I think he's the most qualified person to talk about AI since he's doing a PhD in AI and is also a long-time Roblox developer. So, Guy, how was your RDC so far?
I'm still mind blown by all the stuff you shared. Lots of cool stuff.
And so maybe we can start from there. Like, how is Toya today using generative AI in the workflow, in the day-to-day development?
We created some kind of a home-brewed CI/CD pipeline using Git platforms. So we've been using Code Assist for the past year and a half. And it's like pretty early, once you get through the motion of starting to use AI, it boosts performance. I'd say by now it's like 50% improvement on developers. So it completely changes the economic speed, your ability to iterate. It's indispensable.
And I know you guys use both VS Code as well as Studio for coding.
Yes,
so
yes.
you got Copilot and you got Code Assist. And so I wonder if in the future, actually, you could benefit even more if we were connecting those two ecosystems even more, not just with the collaboration workflow that Eric talked about, but potentially, using our models, our Lua models directly into VS Code.
We're looking forward to it. In general, in AI, the rate of innovation is crazy. There is like a new breakthrough coming in at least once a week. And using sort of a standard platform is also sort of guarantees that you get state of the art in everything that you're looking for. But it's also a way that really helps us with hiring new devs because these are like very standard platforms. So getting devs that are familiar with VS Code is accessible, much more so than experienced Roblox devs. So it really creates an environment that we can get, let's call it off-the-shelf developers, and really boost performance with state-of-the-art everything.
Makes sense. I'm super curious to know more about what your wish list for Gen AI features will be. I remember coming to you over a year ago after we released Material Generator, and I asked you, so how can we help you? And you were telling me like, hey, we need to texture like hundreds of pets, right? And then they were all, none of them was using tileable materials, and so we developed a texture generator. And then I remember like the next step, we came to you and you were like, oh, that's not good enough. We need to be able to edit very easily. And so we created this workflow with Photoshop. So you can create something, it may not be perfect, but you have now a nice round trip into Photoshop. What else would you like us to work on to help you guys?
Well, some of the stuff on my wish list I've just seen, so I think that's a good start. But I think that the place that would really change, like right now we have, let's say, a developer, maybe a developer and a half on a game, which is mind-blowing. But we still have, a team of artists that need to. A lot of the work is retexturing because the marketplace has an object for pretty much everything. And since some of the work we do is branded and each brand wants to have their own flavor of things, so retexturing in a game which has hundreds of characters, dozens of levels and locations, mini games and so on, retexturing takes probably 2 or 3 artists constantly per game for each update and all of that. And having a generative solution for that would essentially would make a game with a 2 or 3 team members, like a dev, an artist, and a game designer could really accelerate things further.
So with the same team, you can make 3 games instead of 1. So join Lin, bulk retexturing, make a note of that. That's a great combo between assistant and texture generator capabilities. Very cool. A question that I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have for you is, how is AI going to impact the other side, which is gameplay, right? People think like, oh, there's going to be completely new games, and some we have seen. I've played with this, the game of this startup called Ego Live. There's going to be in beta on Roblox in the next couple of weeks, where basically it's kind of a tower defense model, but instead of like attacking the tower, you're actually convincing people to join your army, right? And you just talk to them and like get them to like join your cause and then rally them all towards the enemy castle. So like very different gameplays are probably gonna emerge, and I'm curious how you guys are experimenting. I know you're looking a lot into like NPC technology,
Sure.
So we'd love to hear from you.
NPCs are, not to downplay code assist and art generation. NPCs, I think, is sort of a new frontier that can really generate something that's social, but with the scripting component. NPCs are going to be a huge deal, not just with the language chat interface, which I think is going to be, it's already pretty good when it comes to language, but also behaviors, intents that the NPC can actually play along and feel like real users. So I think the tech is coming up to that, and we'll hope to roll something out early next year.
So would you want to see basically a large language model for the communication interface paired with like an AI behavior model that can do any animation, any gesture, any interaction with the environment?
Basically behave like what a user would do, yeah. So I think that sort of a model that can pick up the intents from the language and behave in an interesting way, that really create a completely new type of adventure games. Every genre can really benefit from that.
And would you use that also for like game testing, maybe?
That'll be a bit difficult, I think, because like other than fast iteration, it's really hard to say because we haven't really played with that. It might be creating completely new genres. It's until you actually play with that, that'll be really hard to say. But there's the opportunities with like intelligent NPCs are really endless.
Very cool. Okay, maybe last question. Before we jump into audience questions, if you had any advice to the audience about how to get their hands dirty with the AI, both in the creation side or on the on creating basically new mechanics in experience, what would be your advice?
I think the first hurdle a team has to go through is to really embrace AI. But once you do, it's really super powerful and completely changed the workflow and the work dynamics in a team. In terms of advice, I'd say start early, fail early, play around. I think that one of the benefits of Roblox that it's an open platform, so you really experiment with models that you can pick up from the wild, let's say, and there's endless amount of models that can do pretty much whatever works. So I think that experimenting and integrating new models is super critical, and creators that want to come up with an innovative gameplay or game, it's something that either really expensive or you got to use AI to really pick it up.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I think we have about 8 minutes left, so we'd love to take questions now. We have 2 microphones, so feel free to walk up to them and ask any question.
Hello, good morning, all. I was wondering about what would be the first steps on using Roblox Open API. I'm from a very small studio based in Brazil, and we haven't started yet. And I'd love to some recommendations to get it very straightforward and fast using automations with Roblox Open Cloud APIs.
Up until the previous presentation, I would have said that it takes a lot of expertise to build your own custom pipeline. But I think that what I've just seen is that connecting, Git and VS Code is going to be super simple, and getting developers that use VS Code it's the most accessible editor being used. So I think that the barrier of entry is gone. So I'd say that start working with VS Code environments, thinking, there's Rojo, there's a bunch of solutions out there, but I think that's sort of redundant now.
Eric, do you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be launching it pretty soon for an open beta, and then we're going to have all the documentations. But basically, it's going to be a pretty straightforward RESTful API where you can submit it and you can pull for it. Internally, we have tried to use it with GitHub Actions, and then when we launch it in dev forum post, we're going to have samples for CLI and also for a sample GitHub project that you can see how we hook it with GHA. So it should be pretty straightforward.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I actually have another question for him about version control, specifically with assets, trying to sync that up with GitHub. You mentioned GitHub Actions and whatnot. Because having a complete pipeline where you can, publish those packages straight to the marketplace without even using Studio.
Yeah, to the Creator Store. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that going to come out anytime soon? I'm just first time hearing about that.
Yeah. So that was an interesting job. I'm glad you got that sentence. We need to do it in phases. So the first release that we're going to be doing is unlocking use cases for automated testing. So it's kind of a read-only thing. But kind of as an immediate fast follow, we're going to release a subsequent engine API that lets you allow publishing package to the Creator Store this way. And so that's kind of next step on that journey for us. And then after that, more to come. But we're going to unlock more capabilities. As more capabilities get unlocked in engine, this API will naturally and organically become more powerful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my question is regarding the code that is being generated by the AI tools. Have you done any benchmarking with the other models or the code generated by, say, Anthropic's 3.5 Sonnet? How does it compare?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our approach is that we use whatever is best, right, for the product. And so we are constantly trying Anthropic, GPT for anything out there. The big difference between those models and the open source ones is that the open source ones, we can fine-tune them and we can deploy them in our own infrastructure. And because of that, they're like extremely cheaper to run, and so we can offer them basically in this case for free. And so before we basically deployed for code assets the new star coder-based model, we actually ran benchmarks and we were like outperforming OpenAI models because we had data to fine-tune. So that's kind of the secret sauce, and we're gonna get even deeper on that front where we're gonna use more and more of the data and the code that you guys are sharing to fine-tune open source models on our infrastructure, and then that will basically allow us to outperform, the off-the-shelf models that you can find out there because they don't have access to the same volume of data.
Yeah, I'd add to that quality is all about data. The open source models, they're like, GPT is pretty good, but there's not a lot of, Roblox specifically, Lua data in there.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to the fine-tuned models coming out.
Yeah, and if you want more detail, find Karthik at the studio booth, and then he can geek out with you for a very long time. Next question, thank you.
Yeah, hey, just curious what sort of the vision is around coding inside of Studio and just like that improving the workflow, because right now feels very like everyone's kind of just throwing AI tools like into their development workflows, whereas like I would much prefer if it was just like a second brain and just like coding alongside me as if I was pair programming.
I think what you described is actually the final destination, right? We have put a lot of work for making like coding in Studio like a first-class citizen, right? There was a lot of improvements. A big one that is coming this year that you guys are gonna be all excited about is the autocomplete. We completely refactored the autocomplete. I know the latency sometimes is very annoying, and so it's gonna be like lightning fast before the end of the year. And then basically the idea is exactly what you described. It's like you're pair programming, right, with someone who can like read your mind, read your intent, and like generate code and then iterate. We also have found that it's very effective for like debugging, for example, or sometimes also for explaining code. I think code explanation is one of the highest rated features. So these are all things that will be there, and we're trying to make them as seamless in the workflow as possible, so you don't have to like move away from what you're doing, right? But you're just basically in the flow, and then you're getting this suggestion. Also, Copilot has been in the market for much longer than we have, so of course we are always looking at that, and we're learning how to improve the UX, but yeah, that's the direction we're going. Thank you.
So my question is about ownership. So if I use Gen AI to generate my models, to generate my code, to generate everything associated with do I own it? Can I sell that on Marketplace?
That's a great question. So I'll give an example. If today you use Assistant to generate a scene, like the one that Shujoy and Lynn have shown, right? And you're pulling data from the Marketplace and you're generating code. So the Marketplace data, right, is there made by the community and it's free for reuse. So there is like completely clean IP usage. The code that is generated by an open source model that we have fine-tuned with the community code, the community who donated it to us for that purpose. So again, we are completely clean from an IP standpoint. And so you own 100% of that. We're not infringing. We're not doing anything, that is not like completely sound from both a legal perspective and a community perspective, and that's kind of how we see it.
Is there any attribution for the developers that created that code that I'm now reusing and putting out in the world? How do they get compensated or acknowledged for the work that they've contributed?
That's a great question. A lot of open source repository where you ask for acknowledgement. When we ingest your code for training and fine-tuning, it's like going through the paper shredder. So we take at most 30% of that, and then if you have any bespoke function that is not present in any other game, we just throw it away. We don't want to get any secret special sauce. We just want to get like standard functions, right? And then again, everything is shredded in tokens, so there's no way you can rebuild someone else's code, and that's why we don't have the need for attribution, because you're only gonna get like generic functionalities. They are basically created with like very small chunks of everybody's work together. And so this was a little bit a synergy we did with the community. We take the code, we make it available in Studio, and it's free. And so that's kind of how we compensate, basically.
One follow-up question on that. When you're ingesting these files, if there's a header that has any copyright information, what are you doing with that file?
Yeah, we strip out all personal information, API keys, all the stuff. We have a whole like system to basically filter out, clean up the data. In fact, we end up with a lot less data that you start the process, because we want to only like really, really clean stuff.
My question was more about, if it says copyright, do you not use that file?
If it says copyright, it will not be opted in, and so we will not use it, yes. I think we are at time. Thank you so much for all the questions. You can find all of us at the studio booth, so don't hold back feedback, and thank you again for a great session. Thank you, Guy.
Please welcome Mr. Chicken.